wanted to read a little bit and share my crazy thoughts along the way. This part is about Satan. You know, in metaphysics, which is the contemplation, it's like a philosophical contemplation of the powers of the soul. Yeah, and when we are trying to bring the information from the spiritual world into the physical world, sometimes we have to be creative, and not only creative but also wise, not to be misunderstood. Yes, the Brahmins of the past, for instance, they didn't write down the metaphysics. They didn't write it down. They knew it was dangerous. It was open to misunderstandings. It was open to corruption once it was written down. Okay. Uh, just a simple, example. In my own language, there's words that have different meanings, although they are written exactly the same, but depends on the context. They might have alternative, two, three, sometimes meanings. And not only that, the same word, but accentuated in different parts, it might mean a different thing as well. So it is very easy to misunderstand, you know, what is written down, especially for those who don't have a philosophical mind, a creative mind, a magical mind. Yeah, there's people who are very, stiff in their reasoning. So you're just wasting your, breath, trying to explain these things. So this part here about Satan. But first, I'm going to have to go a little bit quick about the Trinity. Yeah, the Trinity in the Vedas, because in every other culture, the Trinity has different names, but in the Vedas here, the Father is represented by Agni, Indra is the Sun, and Aditya is the Holy Spirit. So you have Agni, the Father, the solar aspect, the Sun is Indra, and the spiritual. Sometimes the spiritual, is also equated with the the feminine, the mother, the earth, the Indra with the solar, the masculine, and Agni. Agni is just there, present. It's the principle. Without it, anything, nothing works. Agni is the principle. Agni, it's almost like not sentient. And Indra and Vayu, are emanations. And sometimes, depending, on what you're trying to transmit, they are interchangeable. The spiritual can become masculine, yes, and vice versa. It's interchangeable. They exist simultaneously. Neither one can survive while the other, um, uh, the, what is the saying? For one to survive, the other has to survive, exist too. They are consubstantial. Within these three, there's other subdivisions. For instance, Indra, the solar aspect, also has a trinity of its own. The Indra, the destroyer, Indra, the protector, the creator, and the preserver. Indra. So, in the original Riga Veda, yes, the Indra, born out of truth, represent in their cosmology legitimate temporal power. Yes, it's related to temporal power. Agni represents the spiritual power. Yes. Indra, sometimes diluted, falls. He falls. He is self infatuated. Sometimes he misunderstands his position. And he wishes to be independent. Yes. He wishes to be independent from the Trinity. And at the same time, he covets. He covets the spiritual power of the other aspects. Why is this happening? Sometimes he is treated as a rival deity towards Agni. He's rival to them. Why? He wanted to experience individuality. Yes? Indra is individuality. He represents the I-ness. He represents the I am. Yes? So Indra, the powers of the soul, which is a trinity, has its own, desires. He desires to become an individual. This is where the I-ness, the I am, the concept of the ego is born, yeah, through the solar aspect. Indra sometimes is rather childish, yes, and is regarded as the personification of the ego principle. Yeah. He is ego principle deity and sometimes set up as an independent person from the Trinity because that's what he wanted. He wants to sometimes be a king of the inferior heaven, or a demon laying claim to this throne. The Greeks called, or the Gnostics called, the demiurgus. Yeah, demiurgus also equated with the feminine aspect, etc. But again, do not take things literally. Now, Indra, he harasses the angels. Indra, angels are powers of the soul, are extensions of the soul. For instance, your thoughts are extensions of the soul, are powers of the soul. Your creativity are powers of the soul. Your intuition, your spontaneity are powers of the soul. When they manifest in this world, they become thoughts, emotions, feelings, perceptions. But only when they are in this world, all right? It doesn't mean that these thoughts, emotions, and perceptions are, the soul, but they, because there's a consubstantiality between the spirit and the physical, these powers of the intellect, of the mind, kind of manifest these things in the material world. See, so he is sometimes portrayed as a tempter. He's jealous. Yes, he's a jealous archetype, and sometimes he sends nymphs to lead astray the saints on earth. He sees the saints as a threat to his throne, so he sends, nymphs and, roadblocks to keep the angels away, from his individuality. He wants to experience individuality, he loves it. I forgot to read this part here. In later developments, it seems to have taken place in Christianity, the later developments that took place in Christianity. In the case of Lucifer and Satan, and likewise in the Avesta, where Indra and Deva are demon powers. You see, in Christianity, they call him, Lucifer, Satan, this aspect of the Trinity. In effect, Indra in Brahmical mythology plays that part which is allotted to Mara in Buddhism. So what does this mean? The solar aspect can be divided into a trinity: the destroyer, the creator, and the protector. But this solar aspect as alter ego, right, that wanted to experience individuality. When the solar God meets this other aspect in Christianity is Satan. In Buddhism, what's his name? Buddha, the Gautama. He met Mara in the desert, right? Jesus, he met Satan in the desert. He tried to what? Seduce him. Like I was trying to read here. He's a tempter, He's trying to seduce. He's sending roadblocks, to keep everybody else away from his affairs. In the Vedas, he is Indra, this tempter, this egotistical aspect of the soul. He puts roadblocks, try to keep the angels out of his path, out of his doings. He wishes a throne. He wants to rule. We are talking about mythology, yes, but also we are talking about the depths of the soul. We're talking archetypes and psychology at the same time. Yeah. So Jesus and Satan are the same character, like Mara and Gautama, or Mara and Buddha. They are the same character. When they meet in the desert, and when Mara or Satan tries to seduce the other, it's when you are facing your shadow side, your ego, that thing, like Carl Jung said, is created over time, and it becomes your shadow, right? It is your ego. It is little by little, made from all the experiences that you have. Yeah, bads and good ones. It's that side of yours most people don't want to face. They just want to ignore. And then enters another aspect of metaphysics, which is when the opposites attract to each other. And the union of opposites is that what gives origin to things. So Satan and Jesus are the sides of the same coin, and one cannot exist without the other. And there's a friction between both of them, right? One represents beauty, represents everything that is good, and it's like an angel, type of thing. And then the other, he's more envious, more independent and more arrogant, and he covets power and he wants a throne for himself. And then they are always in conflict. There's a conflict, and often this conflict, if you don't want to call it Satan or Jesus, if you don't want to call it Mara or Buddha, you can say the spiritual is in conflict, or should I say the physical is in constant conflict with the spiritual. They just don't seem to get along. There's this friction between them two. There's this friction. It's like a magnet, the positive and the negative side. There's always a conflict. And it is this agitation that, this polarization, yeah, that, you know, that we can see, we can see clearly in the world. There's this polarization between the union of opposites, basically. It's the opposites attract each other. They are one and the same, right? The male aspect and the female aspect, you could say the same thing. It's the union of opposites. That it is this friction that keeps things going. It's not duality. No, it's more like saying it's a duality. You're just adding confusion to the concept. It's not a duality. It's more of a co-substantiality. One cannot exist without the other. It is almost out of necessity that these things are the good and the bad. So there's no one without the other. And so I think I'm going to shut up now.